Childhood Obesity, a Family Matters special presentation is made possible by the following partner.
Providence Health and Services has served the Northwest for more than 155 years. With compassion and excellence, Providence cares for all, especially the poor and vulnerable. At Providence, it's not just healthcare, it's how we care.
Good evening, I'm Deborah Knapp, and welcome to a Family Matters special presentation, Childhood Obesity. In the next half hour, we'll be taking a closer look at this growing epidemic, the health risks it can lead to, and what you can do as a family to prevent it. One of the first ways in the prevention of childhood obesity is to understand why it happens. I'm joined tonight by Dr. Miles Hassel and Dr. Jamie Beckerman from Providence Health and Services. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Let's start off with, I read a study that in the past 30 years, childhood obesity has more than tripled. That's astounding to me. Do we have any major reasons why?
Well, childhood obesity certainly has increased by a factor of anywhere from 3 to 5 times since the 70s in both males and females. And I think there's a number of reasons. Sweet drinks might be actually the biggest single reason. Kids are eating more juices, more sweetened sodas, and that kind of thing. And even the artificially sweetened, calorie-free sodas are often associated with more obesity too. We're spending more time in front of screens. We're spending less time eating as a family and more time eating out. Portion sizes have improved, so numerous factors have contributed.
And when these kids come in the hospital, there have to be different concerns that you're pinpointing. First, the initial concern, the immediate effect from childhood obesity. It's more than just being overweight.
It is. Well, childhood obesity is associated with so many different risk factors for other chronic diseases. So there's not only the impact of being obese as a kid in terms of social aspects, which I think are really important, and I can say that as a kid who used to be overweight. But I think that it's those risk factors for heart disease, and we're learning more that being obese is a risk factor for different kinds of cancers. And so when you're really looking at a child who is overweight or obese, thinking what they have to look forward to later and the impact that that'll have on them, on their family, and even on our healthcare system.
So you said you grew up as an overweight child. What changed in your life?
Well, I remember being 11 years old, and I was probably about 25 pounds overweight, and going to a pediatrician and having what I thought was just a normal doctor's visit, and then I was asked to leave the room actually. And when my parents came out of the doctor's office a little while later, they said they were going to have to make some changes at home. And one of the biggest changes, it's funny that you mentioned sugar-sweetened beverages, but like a lot of kids, I enjoyed drinking soda and juice, and that was something that we pretty much cut out as a family.
And that is something families can take charge of, just their dynamics, their daily routine, and that's a big leading cause of why kids get on this path in the first place.
It is. And I think one thing that I'd emphasize is that, I mean, we've all been kids, and we all know that to say to a kid, you're going to have to start exerting more willpower. It's right. And as parents, we know that that doesn't work so well either. And so it's not as though the kids of today are somehow weaker willed than the kids were 40 years ago. Mm-hmm. Society's changed. And society's changed in such a way that it's easier to become obese. In fact, obesity, because of all the products that are being promoted, obesity is being promoted in our society. And so if we want to try to address the problem of obesity, in addition to talking to parents and having them be able to say no and kids to be educated, we have to think as a society that obesity is actually a symptom of problems that our society has around food and around the impact of corporations in our lives.
And it's something, a mindset that parents can change or can start adjusting at home as well, especially because school's about to start and kids are going to be going back into the classroom. At what point do you classify a child as obese or overweight instead of just kind of having a little bit of baby fat and they'll grow out of it? Because you can look at kids as young as 2, 3 years old and say that they're overweight.
That's right. Please.
The standard growth charts we use have certain lines on them, and if you're over 85% of normal, or if you're above 85% of children, I should say, so if you're in the top 15%, that's considered overweight, and if you're in the top 5%, that's considered obese. So it's very arbitrary, and most of us can look at a child and know if they're carrying too much weight around the middle, they're probably too heavy.
Yeah, you hear about numbers like body mass index, and while those numbers and classifications can be helpful if you're looking at population research and looking at 100,000 people and percentages of this and that. When you're looking at a particular person, people have different body frames, they may have more muscle mass, etc. And so I don't think that we should get so stuck on my body mass index is 24.6. What does that mean about, am I now overweight or obese? I think it's more about using these growth charts, and also it's the kind of thing that if somebody looks like they're overweight, they probably are. And
so we see the immediate health dangers when you see kids in the doctor's office or in the hospital if they have to be admitted. What are the long-term health problems that you get concerned about?
Well, as a cardiologist, I tend to focus on risk factors for heart disease. And we know that a significant proportion of kids have undiagnosed high blood pressure and something called insulin resistance, where when the body has too much fat on board, it makes it difficult for the body to process sugar in the way that it should. And that's a leading risk factor for developing type 2 diabetes, which we know has a very high association with coronary artery disease.
And there's numerous others too. A child who's overweight is much more likely to be obese as an adult, especially if a parent is obese as well. So that's one risk factor. Other things, cancers long-term appear to be sharply elevated. Even long-term, things like dementia. Jamie has already mentioned heart disease. Diabetes is much higher. Joint disease is much higher. And then there's always the social, the difficulties. I have patients who are, because of their weight as children or adults, they've run into real problems with their social skills, with their social comfort, with just getting around in the world. So there's many different levels at which it's a problem long term.
So these children have a higher incidence rate, but it's really frightening because when you look at a whole population, we are increasing in heart disease and diabetes, and here's this next generation of kids coming up, and if we've increased 3 times the rate in the past 30 years.
Yeah.
And our diabetes is up in children and teenagers by a factor of 5.
Wow.
So some people are arguing that this could be the first generation that will have a shorter life expectancy than their parents.
So we need to change some habits.
We do.
What are some of the hidden calories in foods and drinks?
Hidden calories.
Sugary drinks.
Yeah, sugars are the big ones, and sugars are everywhere. So the big one is any sweet drink, or should be suspicious, including juice. And that's, I think, a lot of parents have not quite got the message that orange juice or apple juice might be almost as bad as Coke or Pepsi. And then there's the things like yogurts and breakfast cereals that for example, many breakfast cereals have more sugar than Twinkies, just to put it into perspective.
That's a little shocking to hear.
Yeah, and so parents really have to get their mind wrapped around, they've got to read ingredients labels. And they've got to taste food. If food tastes sweeter than you think it should, it's probably got a whole bundle of sugar in there.
One of the challenges I think parents and kids have is that corporations are not helping us out in terms of the nutrition labeling. They can write whole grains on a box of chocolate-flavored cereal, and some people associate whole grain has this health halo to it, and therefore it must be a healthy food, and it just happens to taste like chocolate. Perfect. But obviously there's something more underneath, and I think that we really need to do more about being transparent about the way that we present foods to people. And I personally think that more calorie labeling and even nutrition labeling, which is a little bit different, on boxes of food and also in restaurants, I think it will have a positive effect ultimately.
So it's changing the mindset of the parents, but how do we best raise food-smart kids?
By parents taking charge and realizing that we can wait for legislation or we can take charge now. So parents have to read. They have to start by reading ingredients labels and everything they buy. They really need to spend more time at home. Families need to eat together. Parents need to make more food at home. We have to look at portion size. If your children's getting chubby, you need to maybe think about giving them smaller portions. And think about other refined carbohydrates apart from sweets. So white flour, in all of its many manifestations of breads and bagels and pastas, are a huge contributor to being overweight. Spending less time in front of screens, and this is funny to say on a TV show perhaps, but the more times kids spend in front of a TV, the more likely they are to be heavy.
And the less right now.
Right. So this one's okay. And the other issue is not spending enough time outdoors and playing.
Yeah. Both of you, thank you so much. For more information, go to the Family Matters section at katu.com. We'll be right back. For a lot of families, staying on the right track is the biggest challenge in the fight against obesity. We found a program that gives them the tools to empower them to reach their goal.
We are seeing an increase in obesity in kids, and when kids become obese, they're going to have increased health problems. And it's being said that this is a generation of kids that are going to die before their parents, and we don't want that. We want to grow healthy kids, and so that they all can grow to their potential. So the Healthy and Fit program is a program designed for families, kids 8 to 15. Both the children and the parents come to the program. And it is exercise and nutrition education. It's designed that they'll do 45 minutes of exercise and then 45 minutes of nutrition education. So we look at things like portion control, reading labels, eating out, so that the family can learn new habits or strategies for their family.
And so we change those things by attacking their diet in a nice way, by attacking the exercise routine, and getting them more active and changing those lifestyles and hoping to get that full body awareness change and not just a component.
Well, before we took the class, I thought we were doing pretty well. I knew definitely what was healthy and what wasn't, as far as these vegetables are healthy, or eating a lot of butter or snack foods is not healthy. But after I realized that our portion sizes were a big aspect. We were eating far larger portion sizes than we should have.
We ate until the plate was empty. We didn't know exactly what the exact portion sizes, what the best kind of portion to have, what size of meat,
I really thought I was going to get major pushback from the kids on this. But when we went, and just even after the first time, they felt really positive about the way the program was and the feedback that they got from the different instructors.
The other piece of the puzzle is that it's a full family-centered program, that it's not just a kid showing up and it's not just a parent showing up, because you have to have both working together.
The teachers really work you. They're like, don't stop, you can do it, keep on doing it, And I think that really helped me.
We all kind of help each other because we see the successes and we pat each other on the back, and it's not like we're trying to stay on this because this is the way we are now.
We are eating healthier food. We are exercising way more than we ever did. I have seen me and my brother and my sister have more energy now, and we can do things that we haven't been able to do before. So it's positive changes.
Just in learning about the portion sizes, which I really did not know, I lost 22 pounds while we were just going through that program. And we have a lot longer to go, but that was just such an amazing start. And it was just such a small change. And I realized that it was a change your life kind of thing. So it's not like you're on a diet, and they made sure and talked about that a lot. This is not a diet, this is a lifestyle choice. And we're never going to go back to the way we were.
I was hoping to have a healthier lifestyle, to feel really, really good about my weight and how I looked. And I got that, which I'm really happy about.
For more information about the Healthy and Fit program, head to the Family Matters section at katu.com. Welcome back. Good nutrition is one of the cornerstones to fighting obesity. Joining us now once again is Dr. Miles Hassel from Providence Health and Services. You are also an author of Good Food, Great Medicine, which gives us all some great ideas on how to have some healthy diets for our families. And I think busy moms, busy dads get a little overwhelmed sometimes and just want to do quick and easy. But you're arguing this can be quick and easy.
I'm arguing that not only is quick and easy, but quick and easy and basic foods is essential if you're going to give your kids the right start in life. And it's not just a health issue, it's actually a kind of a moral responsibility I think parents should take seriously. And so here's just a few foods if you'd like me to go through this. Sort of some breakfast ideas that are really easy. I mean, certainly there's the typical things like eggs and vegetables, just fried in a pan, that are really straightforward. But you can also have some muesli, and you could just give them some milk with it. Mm-hmm. And it has nuts and grains and dried fruit. Kids seem to love it, and it'll be a good start to their day. A cooked version is this is a oat and barley combination. You do it in a crock pot. You can do a week's supply at a time. Throw in some nuts and some honey, and kids are happy.
I see the yogurt here. Are there different types of yogurts that you should be watching for in the grocery store?
Yeah, and we really like the Nancy's fruit on top kind because it limits how much sugar is that children are getting. Many times, a standard yogurt container can have as many as 9 teaspoons of sugar in it. That's a lot of sugar. And if you get something like this, where the fruit is relatively less sweet, and you mix it in, it's much easier to limit how much sweetening the child gets. And there's also fruit on top cottage cheese, which is the same idea. It's worthwhile remembering that simple cheeses can be purchased pre-cut. So once again, for the busy parent, you combine this with some fresh fruit, some nuts, and so on. It's a quick snack. Other quick snacks, think of just plain old sliced apples. You know.
And I see you dressed it up though a little bit. You have some peanut butter or almond butter inside
Some
of it?
peanut or almond butter inside between them. Even things like hummus and tahini, if your children like them, can be great there. Similarly, with celery and peanut butter or almond butter can be a great choice. Grapes. This is kind of a neat, nifty trick you can do with grapes is freeze them. And then stick them in your children's lunch pail if they have such a thing.
Right.
And it'll keep the food cold, and then they can eat them later on.
I do that with blueberries as well.
Perfect. Yeah, any berry or many fruits this will work with. Nuts are often underappreciated as being a good food.
But it doesn't matter what kind of nuts, salted, roasted?
We would suggest raw nuts as being really the only reasonable one. And so you take raw nuts and you mix it with some dark chocolate.
I was going to say, I see chocolate
or fruit.
here.
Yeah. Dark chocolate is great food.
Okay.
Remember, people who eat dark chocolate live longer than everybody else. We always think in terms of vegetables, plus which gives you fiber, plus protein, which can come from animal proteins or vegetable proteins like beans, as being sort of and healthy fats as being critical to good eating. And so chocolate and nuts both give you good fats. Beans. This is a roasted garbanzo bean or a chickpea.
Yeah, and you can just buy a can of that.
Yep,
right?
you can and you can roast them, and you can do a large batch at a time. Wonderful quick snack for children. Here's some little baby tomatoes and baby mozzarella with a little bit of vinaigrette on it. Once again, the kids love it. Something like a frittata with this is vegetables, cheese, and egg. Once again, you can make it in large batches. Cut it up. It'll be a great breakfast or lunch or dinner or a snack. This is a black bean with a dressing that's sort of a Southwest flavor, and wonderful. Kids really love it. If you've had kids that say they don't like beans, they'll like this.
Now, when you talk about beans real quickly, is there a difference between pinto beans, black beans, and the kinds of nutrition that you're absorbing?
I would suggest that all beans are roughly equal. They all have their individual qualities that are different, but any bean is better than no bean, I would submit.
Okay.
And so, although they have all the individual characteristics, and some people are really keen on soybeans, and some people are keen on, beans are beans, and don't worry, don't sweat the differences.
Okay.
Deviled eggs, really enjoyed by kids, and easy to make. An avocado with a blob of salsa in it. Quick meal, wonderful nutrition. This is a tuna wrap. So all it is a flatbread wrapped around a standard tuna salad. Tuna, celery, onions.
But you loaded it up with celery, so it's that nice crunch for kids too, so it
Right.
becomes more fun.
And as a general rule, we try to have our meals about 2/3 vegetables and whole fruit. Whole vegetables and whole fruit as being about 2/3 of the meal, and then your fats and proteins about 1/3. And that's not a bad rule of thumb. Obviously, you don't want to stick to it like a dogma, but if you sort of get in the habit of always doing something like that, you're going to be feeding your kids pretty well.
Okay.
Over here are some examples of snack foods that, say if we have a bunch of children over at our house, that this is the kind of thing we might have on the table. A bunch of vegetables, highly flavored dips. This is a hummus, and this is a cheese, yogurt, parsley, and salt and pepper dip with some garlic in it. Those things make all vegetables taste great. Yeah, a dip and a vegetable, when they don't have chips available, suddenly look really good.
Right.
Now, if you have the chips out, they're going to go first.
Right.
And so the whole issue I think that we have to remind parents of is they can control the environment at home. They may not be able to control the environment everywhere, but they can control it at home.
And also, important, because water is so much better.
That bottle of water just reminds us that children don't need sweet drinks. Water is fine. Children can do just fine drinking water, and the more we get them used to drinking water, the more they're going to enjoy drinking water, and the more sweet drinks are going to taste odd.
And I also noticed sardines. These are some not typical child foods that you would associate that they enjoy.
But I speak from the authority of somebody with a 3-year-old. And when you bring children up and put certain foods in front of them, those are the foods they're going to like. And so if parents would get over their own likes and dislikes and feed their children foods that are good for them, they'd be using more foods such as sardines, which are really a power-packed food.
Thank you, Dr. Miles Hassel, for your information and some great food alternatives for healthy living. For more information, go to the Family Matters section at katu.com. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Williams and I'm a pediatric physical therapist with Providence. And I'm here today to show you 4 simple exercises to keep your kids healthy and fit. Those exercises include muscle strengthening resistance exercises, bone strengthening exercises, and cardiovascular. So this first exercise really is looking at muscle strengthening. It's an important thing for kids to think about. It's not so easy just to pick up a weight sometimes, or safe necessarily for all children. So this is a great way using a resistance band that you can do a lot of different exercises to work on strengthening muscles. First really simple one I'm going to show you guys is just working the biceps. Nice, strong, easy muscle to focus on. You're going to take the band and place it underneath your feet to lock it down. Arms are going to be against your body with your elbows locked in close, and you're going to bring your arms straight up towards your shoulders, leaving your arms against the side of your body, and then return straight back down again. You can change the level of resistance by stepping and holding more of it, and then bringing up and down. It should be nice and slow, and you shouldn't feel like you're being pulled back down too fast like that, but you should be really controlled throughout the entire motion. The next exercise is going to focus on 2 different areas. It's going to focus on our bone strengthening through impact on the ground, and also on cardiovascular by getting our heart rate elevated. It's a really simple exercise that we're going to do, and I'm going to show you 2 different examples. One for kids that are older and have the coordination to complete it, and the other one for the younger children. The first one for the older kids is just a simple jumping jack. The things that you want to focus on for the coordination is starting nice and straight as arms and feet together, and then you're going to open wide with your arms and your legs spread apart, and then come back down together again. So when you go into full speed, it's going to be a full jumping jack. You're going to get the impact that's going to be bone strengthening, and also work on getting your heart rate up. For your younger kids that maybe can't coordinate that movement of your arms and legs, we're going to do just a tuck jump. So that's bringing your legs up as high as you can and coming back down again and going over and over again, trying to get that elevation off the ground and focusing on that impact and solid landing and balance. Last exercise that I'm going to show you guys is a real fun one for young kids. You can really take this and do it in a relay race, you can play games with it, and it's going to incorporate both your muscle strengthening as well as your cardiovascular. And it's taking it down to an animal walk called the crab walk. You're going to get down to the floor, feet in front, arms behind, and elevate those hips up off of the ground. Now get moving. Move those hands and those feet and keep your hips up off the ground the entire time. Just remember to keep your kids moving that we want to include cardiovascular, get that heart rate up. We want to include muscle strengthening where we're adding resistance and making those muscles work. And you want to get bone strengthening as well, where you're getting impacts and increasing the strength of those bones. Remember to keep things fun, and you're going to build a life for your kids full of happiness and healthy living.
We've just scratched the surface of what we can do to stop this epidemic of childhood obesity. For more information, just head to the Family Matters section at katu.com. There you'll find information and links to help your family win the fight against childhood obesity. For K2 and Family Matters, I'm Deborah Knapp. Good night.